Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on In the Doll World. My name is Tammy Fisher, and I am here today with my beautiful co-host, Miss Georgette Taylor.
Hey, everybody.
Hello, Miss Georgette. And today's special guest is Mike Buess. He is the creator of the beautiful new doll on the market, Miss Fabiola of Hollywood, the fabulous Fabiola.
Hi, Georgette and Tammy. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
And
Thank you
we're
so
really
much for
excited for
joining
having you.
us. Yes,
Yes,
we
we're
can't wait to
excited.
start talking about your doll, but
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, she's gorgeous.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. It means a lot because I feel like I just came out of nowhere, like I thought that it would be a slow build and, I'm not the greatest with social media. So I just thought that I'd put the website up and then organically people would hear
Mm-hmm.
about her. And it kind of just happened really quickly for me.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's great.
that's really
Fortunate about.
cool. Yeah. So we're gonna go back. We're excited to hear about Fabiola, but we want to go back and we want to know more about you first. This guy who created this beautiful lady. So
Sure.
tell us about your doll journey. When did you start collecting dolls? You know you love them. That kind of.
Well, I've
Tell us about
always
that.
known I've loved them. I come from a family of collectors. My dad collected when he was a teenager, but he still has them, and he still worked on these little tiny soldiers that he hand painted when I was little, and he has this whole collection. And I've loved miniatures too ever since I was little. My mom loves dolls. Both my grandmothers love dolls, and as being a child in the 70s, there were so many wacky toys out there, especially in the
Mm-hmm.
70s.
That's
I
true.
remember becoming obsessed with my friend who had Emerald the Witch, that doll. I was obsessed with her eyes. And I would always have this little tiny baby doll. It was like mini size that I would wash in the sink. And it would always break apart and it would fall down the drain. And my mom was constantly buying me these little tiny baby dolls. But I remember that I must have been like 3 or 4, but really the doll collecting became much more of a much, you know, more important to me when I
Mm-hmm.
was around 5 years old. That's when
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
I got my
Okay.
Donnie and Marie
Yeah.
dolls, and they would
Okay.
go with me everywhere I went.
That's cool.
And then it didn't really pick up again until, I was always interested in fashion. And I have a younger sister, so she always got Barbies, and I would love going to the toy stores and standing in the Barbie aisles, looking at all the different choices that girls had for dolls and all the
Mm-hmm.
different choices for fashion and clothing. So, always being interested in fashion, I ended up going to Parsons School of Design, and I studied
Okay.
fashion. And during this time, when I was like right out of college, is kind of when Jean came out.
Okay.
Mm.
And
Okay.
then all of that stuff from my childhood, all the love of dolls and fashion and me just graduating college, kind of got manifested in a resurgence of my passion for dolls and fashion, and start collecting Jean. And that's how that all progressed with the collecting of the dolls. um, Once she came out, I toyed with the idea that it'd be so amazing to, you know create your own doll.
Mm-hmm.
um, when I was a student at Parsons, my favorite thing was really styling.
Mm-hmm.
So after I graduated from school, I started styling some photo shoots, and I felt like that was really fun because then you can kind of create characters and create a world. And that's when I started thinking about designing a doll again. And I would be like, I'd really love to create a character, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
finally, I've had a bunch of different creative pursuits like
Mm-hmm.
since college to now, but finally was able to create Fabiola of Hollywood. And I think I love her, and I think she's like exactly what I would want her to be. And I think that if I'd done her younger or earlier in my
Mm-hmm.
life, she wouldn't be who she is today, if that makes
Right.
any sense.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's
That's
that,
true.
that's
That
a
makes
very
sense.
cool story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about when you used to do styling. What
Oh,
styling
it's
mean?
just when you're hired by magazines to pick out the clothing that the models wear for photo shoots. So it's a
Oh,
fashion
okay. Okay.
stylist.
I didn't know if it was like diorama work or something.
No,
Okay.
no, no, no,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
And so I was always interested in fashion, but right after college, I was doing that, and then I started working at the Wilhelmina Modeling Agency, running their kids division. Then I had my own kids modeling agency. Then
Oh.
I always thought I wanted to have a store, so I finally ended up opening up my store. But in the back of my head, I was like, I'm doing all these creative things, and I really love them, but something is not clicking with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're great, I'm excited, but there's still something that's missing. And when I closed my store, I was like, what was that all for? Like, I did this beautiful store and, it got great press and people really liked it. The economy was terrible at the time. I closed around 2013 and I was like, it just must be leading up for me to do the thing that I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time, I thought it was just the store. I was
Mm-hmm.
meant to have a store. I'm a good retailer. That's what it was supposed to be. So when that ended, it really, raised a lot of questions in my mind towards like, what am I really supposed to be doing? And at the time, I started dating my boyfriend, who is my boyfriend now, Eric, and he is in the toy industry. So he was talking about starting his own toy business. And then it kind of all came full circle when I was like, oh my God, I've always wanted to do a doll. And then he's like, well, you should do it. Well, I was thinking a little bit more small scale. I was thinking, I'm going to create fashions because I went to school for fashion for other doll collectors. Maybe I'll make some cool fashions for Barbie. And he suggested, he's like, well, why would you design clothing and make clothing for someone else's doll? Why don't you just make your own doll? And I'm like, it's something that
That's
I've
a
always
good
wanted to do,
question.
but how do you do it? And he's like,
Yes.
well, I'm in the toy biz, so I can help you.
Okay,
But
okay,
Cool.
Mike.
Forget.
So we're really excited about Fabiola.
thank
So
you.
it's nice to see this new doll, and she's got that vintage take on her.
Mhm.
So why don't you give us some information about like how long it took you to make Fabiola? How long was that process?
Well, once I decided I want to make a doll, I really had to think about like what would she be about that is a little bit different that's in the marketplace. And
Okay.
I had to draw, of course, through my inspirations. I love old movies from the 40s, 50s, 60s. I
Mm.
love those fashions. I love those vintage dolls. I feel like they're very different than new modern fashion
Mm-hmm.
dolls because number one, the construction is different. And number
Mm-hmm.
two, they had a quirkiness that I really bond with. I see so many gorgeous dolls out there in the marketplace, and they're gorgeous. I mean, they're drop dead, but at the same time, I am interested in more of the quirky little dolls, the ones that were like in the 50s and 60s, like hand
Mm-hmm.
painted by artisans in the factory, or they had a little quirky look on their face.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that I wanted her to have that vintage vibe as far as construction. I
Okay.
knew that I wanted her to be also set in the 50s and 60s because it's a time period that I love. And how could I do it in a different way that's not already been done? And also, how is it going to be important to me? How is she going to be important to me? And, reflect,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm about, what my heritage is about. Like,
So
so
what's your heritage? Just
well, my
back up.
mom is from Puerto Rico and she
Uh-huh.
moved here in the 50s and 60s. So a lot of this, she moved here in the 50s. So a lot of Fabiola's story is based on my family's moving from Puerto Rico to America. They didn't move to
Okay.
Los Angeles or Hollywood, but they did move to Brooklyn. My mom is one
Okay.
of 16 children, 8 boys, 8 girls.
Wow.
It's a
So
big family. Yeah.
my mom loves glamour and fashion, and we would always talk about fashions of that time and the glamorous clothes that she had or her sisters had. And you know when you read about Fabiola's story, she was born in a city in Puerto Rico, which was the city that my mom was born in. Fabiola's maiden name is my grandmother's maiden name, so or
Oh,
Fabiola's
nice.
last
Okay.
name is my grandmother's maiden name. So there's definitely
Mm-hmm.
family
Okay.
story weaved into Fabiola's story.
Okay. And
Nice.
and so I'm sorry I interrupted you. So when you were talking about how long it took to make her.
Well, so probably the concept didn't take very long because once I had those ideas, like they just kind of came to me. I, I hired a 3D artist. We worked on the faces, but I knew in my head what I wanted her to look at like. So that
Mm-hmm.
didn't
Okay.
take very long either. The longest, I would say, chunk of time was working with the factory to get her body correct because I
Okay.
had I had 3D renders of her body and of her face. We needed to work with the sculptor there, right? So that the sculptor can get her to look just like the 3D as
Right.
much as they could.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And actually, I love that portion of the work because it doesn't look exactly like the 3D render. It's
Mm-hmm.
not perfect. She's more human like because she's got like hands from a real artisan on her
Okay.
and her face is a little asymmetrical. Little things that I think that like add something towards like the quirkiness of her, but at the same
Cool.
time still being very beautiful, which all of
Yes, she
us as
definitely
humans are
is.
not perfect.
Yeah,
So,
she's
you know.
gorgeous. You hit that
Thank you.
definitely.
Thank you. So, you know, and at the factory had her for a very long time because we had to work out the kinks about getting her body correct. So it's not easy. We did her body in an injection mold, and we did her face in a roto mold. And some things needed to be altered so that she could, you know, come out of the molds correctly. But finally, it was about a year later, and
Okay.
she arrived at my doorstep. I got to see her sample, and it was pretty perfect. Another thing they did that was interesting is that she's made of 3 different plastics. She's got one for her face, one for her limbs, and one for her torso. And I think they did a really great job because skin tone, of course, is important, especially with a Latina doll. They did a really great job of matching up her skin tone.
That's great. Yeah, and it's great to see this beautiful doll. One of the things that you talked about was her makeup.
Yeah.
And we talked about this a little earlier. When I went to your website, I saw that you were selling like eyebrows and and beauty marks, and it's like, who buys an eyebrow and a beauty mark? What is that? What is that? And so then, you know, I went back and I looked, and it's like, oh, she doesn't have eyebrows.
She doesn't. No.
And she's so beautiful and so well done. And I think that part of it is just her eyes are just spectacular. You get drawn into her eyes and you don't realize that she doesn't have eyebrows.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Well, the funny story there is, harken back to my family again. You know, my mom always complains about her eyebrows because they're thin, because she like plucked them really thin, like when she was younger, and they all didn't grow back. And one of my aunts, same story. And, you know, I'd hear how they would bleach their eyebrows and do all of this stuff. So when I was doing the makeup, when I was, you know, testing, painting her face, I really wanted people to like really focus on her eye, you know, the cat eyeliner. And I felt when I was painting and, you know, drawing on the eyebrows that it kind of was competitive with the eyeliner. And I really felt like without the eyebrows, you can really kind of portray your own emotion on her when you're looking at her, because eyebrows, of course, you know, give you such an expression when you're looking at the doll. So without them, you kind of can just like project what you're feeling right onto her. And of course, I knew that it would be 2 things. I knew that, you know, some people would really hate it and they would really wish that their doll had eyebrows. So that's why I offered those like reusable eyebrows for people who felt like, you know, they really need one of their doll to have eyebrows. But at the same time, I felt like if I was going to put a new doll in the marketplace, I did really want her to be different.
Yeah.
And so I felt like this is a really fun way. I mean, I take her very seriously. Of course, I've worked on her for, you know, years at this point, but at the same time, I want people to smile and giggle and feel like, you know, it's not the most precious-y thing in the whole world, that you can have fun with your, you know, collectible dolls at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I just was shocked when I saw that. And I also liked when I was looking, I'm over here stalking you and your doll.
You're allowed.
Thank you. I liked seeing, there's a little store there. So you can go and you can buy purses for her. And I'm assuming you're going to have outfits and other things there for her. And it was cool. It's like going into this department store and it's like, oh, today I'm going to choose to buy, you know, the yellow dress for her. Or, I mean, I love the whole feel
vibe
of
it.
It's just,
I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
really
it's like you're going shopping. Yeah, it was just so. I love Miss Fabiola, and I love what you're doing.
I think she's so refreshing, you know.
She is.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it because you know, as I said, I didn't know what people. I don't really know many. Like a lot of my good friends, none of them collect dolls, right? My whole life story, I was basically like, you know, whoever I was dating are really good friends from like high school or something, knew that I loved them, but at the same time, none of my friends were into collecting it. I never went to a doll convention, mostly because I felt like when I was younger, I didn't have the money to go to the conventions, or I was like working 2 jobs, or you know, I just didn't have the time. So I didn't really have a community. You know, I didn't have friends in the doll community. So, you know, putting this doll out there, I was like, you know, I'm in some Facebook groups. I'm not very, you know, during the day, my day job is pretty busy. So I'm not able to like, you know, really be on these Facebook groups. And at night, before, the pandemic, I was commuting 4 hours a day to
Wow.
and from work.
Wow.
So 2 hours to work, 2 hours from work.
Wow.
So it was, any free time I had, I was like testing how to paint Fabiola's face and how to, work out whatever new clothes she had. So, when I turned on her website, I didn't really think anyone was going to see it. And actually, I have to Nav and Julian are two of my guardian angels at this point,
Yeah,
because
they
Nav
loved her, and
yeah, he caught
bam.
wind that I was launching her through, because we were Facebook friends and Instagram, we're following each other on Instagram. So he reached out and he was very sweet, and him and Julian both posted about her on their own channels, and then that's kind of where it all blew up from there, and took me totally by surprise.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
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 they're really nice guys too.
yeah.
They're
We
really nice
interviewed some
guys.
great, that group of guys, Julian and Nav, and then Joseph is kind of related to them too. I mean, there's some beautiful people in the doll world, just beautiful.
Yeah, I agree.
Really
So-
helpful. And they're
so-
excited. It's not so much competition. People are excited to see a new doll. The doll makers are excited. Oh, look, I can collect a new doll. So
Yeah.
that's really cool that it's not like, oh, I have my doll and I don't care about your doll or whatever. So yeah, I'm excited.
I mean,
for you.
it's funny that you say that. I just feel like, when it comes to art in the world, is there ever really enough, or is there someone that
Never enough.
is you give two artists the same materials, they're going to come up with something totally different. So I feel like there's room for everyone.
Yeah.
I feel anyway, and I'm very appreciative about the people who did support me in the very beginning, because like I said, I just didn't know what would really happen.
Okay. And so what I saw happening was Miss Fabiola was gone. It's like
yeah,
she was.
Well, there was some
I got a chance
confusion,
to
I
see
think.
before I got a chance to see her, you go to see if you want to buy one. She's gone. It's like, what happened? What's this? This new doll? And she's just.
I'm releasing them in small batches because they all are hand painted, right? And I'm trying to make more this time around, but I was very lucky that she pretty much went in the one day.
Yeah, I was gonna say she. Bam.
Yeah. But I have a lot of other really fun things planned too, as far as accessory wise and stuff like that. And when you were talking about Cedrick's, the little department store that's on the website, it's because it's part of her backstory where she is the model for Cedrick's of Hollywood. So, I wanted to have that facet on the website where people can go to Cedrick's themselves and feel like they were looking at pages of the Cedrick's catalog by looking at the doll photos and the descriptions and things like that.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they can buy her little purses. And,
right.
It's just so cute, so cute.
So at least now when you make another run, you can actually, make more dolls,
We hope. I mean, I hope. So, you never know, but
I think you'll be good.
I think so too.
And it's a challenge to do something that people like over again, because I can never paint the same face twice.
Oh yeah.
And that's a good thing though.
I want to do something a little different too. And I'm still learning to see what people are really gravitating towards. The dolls that went first are the ones that I did not think would go first.
Yeah, now me and Tammy are sad. We don't have one.
Yeah,
don't worry.
Okay.
We went out there and looking. It's like,
you know me, that means you can have a Fabiola.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, because I was just shocked because
awesome.
I saw that someone shared. I can't remember who it was. Somebody shared a link, and they had the picture, with a beautiful logo, and I was like, well, who did this? And then I went and I looked, and I was like, who did that? So I thought that they were saying that this other person who was also asking who did that. I was like, oh, I need to interview you. Who are you? I love this doll. Who is this?
And then you went to my Facebook and you're like, who is this guy?
Because it's like, I made you.
Never even heard of him before.
But that's the great thing about this show, right? It doesn't necessarily mean if somebody, we find somebody that we love, we're going to reach out to them.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So
and we want to share
our
Yeah, I was going to say we want to share our excitement as doll lovers.
Yeah.
So we see this new doll, and it's like, oh, I'm excited to see this new doll. Just like we're excited, you know, when we talk to like Mel about his Gene. I mean, Gene came out a good while ago, but we love Gene, and there's an excitement there. But there's these new people who are coming out, and their new stories and their passions, and so we are, you know, just super excited when we see somebody new and we reach out to them. So yeah, we are not, someone asked us before, did we want to just interview like the master doll artists? And no, we're not about master doll artists. We're about the love and the passion that people have for dolls around the world. And whether you love a rag doll or a you know, a Barbie doll or fashion, it doesn't, it's that love. And if you're writing about them, or you're making them, or you're dressing them, or you're repainting them,
we want to talk
love.
To you.
Yeah,
I agree.
because we're excited.
So true.
There are, I mean, when you think about it, there really are so many different types of dolls that people really bond with. And I think that, you know, it's easy for a collector to be like, oh, you know, like some collectors have their own like checklists when they're, for me, I like can't even describe what makes me gravitate towards certain things that I like. You know,
I'm the same way. I got a very eclectic collection. Yeah.
Now, Mike, you did say you're a collector, right? You do collect dolls.
Yep, I have a quirky collection though. You know what I mean? Like, so one of my faves is this I don't even know what year it is. It's like this vintage Remco Genie doll, like from I Dream of Jeannie.
Yeah.
She's like 6 inches tall, and she's got the craziest face makeup. It's so intense.
Intense.
But it like it's one of my favorite things. I have a Miss 17, a very large scale Miss 17, and of course I have Jeans, and I have Julian's dolls and Nav's dolls, and you know, so it's a very eclectic mix. I have a vintage Tiffany Taylor, which I really like.
Nice.
And then I also just love quirky little figurines, which I don't know if you'd really call them dolls, but the old Christmas ornaments from like the 50s and 60s that were made in Japan out of felt with these little crazy faces. Like I have a whole collection of those.
That is so cool.
That is cool.
So,
yeah, that's
very cool. Yeah.
So now that you have created Fabiola, is she going to have any friends, or like what is your next what is the next thing for her, or you know, for what you're doing?
Well, I do have an idea for a friend. It would be using the same mold, because obviously like right now that's, you know, what I have and what I can use. The costs, I'd have to sell a bunch more dolls in order for me to like incur the cost of a whole new mold, but I think there's something that I can do using the existing mold that I'm toying around in my head. So she might have a cousin. This is who I'm calling. She might have a cousin. Once I flesh the ideas out a little bit more, I'll let you guys know, so you can do a little update. But
that'd be great. Yeah, we can come back and interview and talk about her cousin and her story.
Yeah, I think it'll be a funny, and of course, like part of the fun for me is not just creating the actual doll, it's creating the story behind the doll, and you know, drawing from my experiences in life, or you know, other things that, you know, kind of bring the doll to life. I really do love accessories too, so I'm working on trying to create some cool new stuff for the dolls to wear.
Now I know she's got, her body is fairly specific. Will other dolls be able to like use her purse or shoes? I'm assuming not her clothes. I mean,
well, the accessories for sure. I have a 3D printed shoe that uses ribbons to like tie up the ankle. That's kind of like a gladiator style like platform shoe. So I think I know a vintage Barbie could probably fit that. But as far as the clothing, that's more specific to Fabiola. But I think some of the looser, more like circle skirt type of, like if you had a Fabiola and you wanted to dress her in different things and you didn't have like any specific clothing, you could probably use a Barbie full skirt outfit might fit Fabiola, something like that.
I was wondering. And I was also wondering if I already own the Barbie. And could I put Fabiola's clothes on Barbie? Not just
they probably would fit her, of course they would fit her because they would just be a little bit bigger around the waist, you know, around the hips, and probably a little bit bigger on the bust.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking so forward to. She's so pretty.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's funny, you know, because that's what I'm working on now. I've got like a box of just tons of heads, like in all different like stages of like face makeup, and it's interesting too, because like I just let them sit there a little bit so that when I look at them, they kind of like tell me what they need, you know. Some of the lips are bigger than others, you know, some of the eyeliner more severe. So they kind of tell me when I look at them.
That's very nice.
Oh, let me ask you a question. I thought that just literally popped in my head. And I understand the eyebrows, and you were talking about the eyebrows. What made you add a beauty mark?
Just that total like 1950s bombshell, you know, beauty mark. And also my mom and her sisters all drew beauty marks. Like I think probably when I was very young. I always
wanted to have one myself, honestly.
Say that again?
I always wanted to have one.
You could just draw one on.
I know that's.
Or I could send you a little stick-on one.
I was gonna say she could give one of Fabiola's. You could change your eyebrows.
That'd be awesome. No, I always wanted a beauty mark. I just
Fabiola's gonna have very fabulosa holiday eyebrows and beauty marks. That's all I'm gonna say right now.
That is so.
Oh, you're gonna release new ones?
Yes, for the holiday.
Okay, we're excited.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see him. Okay.
I was just curious, you know, why you wanted to, you know, I was just curious about the beauty mark thing.
Yeah, I just feel like, you know, when I think back about all those old starlets like Elizabeth Taylor and, you know, Marilyn Monroe and Jane Mansfield and, you know, of that time, it made sense, you know, for her to have one. Plus, the reason why I created her really is because I do love vintage dolls, and I know that there's a lot of collectors that love vintage dolls. And I felt like it was very important to have her constructed in a way that she felt vintage, and she could sit on the shelves with everybody else's collection, and she could be that Latina doll. It's a reimagining of, you know, a doll from that time, because I know that there's like white and black dolls of that time that were produced, but there was not a Latina doll. So I was trying to fill that space with mine.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm so excited to see the diversity in dolls, and the diversity in doll makers, you know, the dolls coming from different countries, different people spin on them. I've been selling dolls for like 5 years, and in this time it's like the doll arena has just burst open. You know, there's just all these. It's just beautiful to see the diversity and how people are using dolls for education, you know, like Bacola's doll that, you know, helps kids learn about computers. And I'm just so excited. This is just a wonderful time to be alive and be a doll lover.
Yeah. And you know, the one thing that I love about your doll is that, and I think it is because of the history and the culture that you bring to that. You know, and it's not like somebody else trying to create a Hispanic doll or a Latin doll. It's like you're Latin and you're creating a doll from your culture, you know, and from bits and pieces of your family's history. And so it's all those other little flavors that go into that. And those are really represented, you know, in the doll that you created. And I think that's what makes it so special. You know, it's really cool.
I agree with that. So one of the things, when we talk about little Miss Fabiola, one of the things that is different about her, but is consistent with the dolls from her time, is she's not jointed.
Right. That was a conscious decision. That, and you know, knowing that, like, I was trying to seek out factories that had the older machines and can do, because I feel like, as I was saying, like, modern dolls are so beautiful and there's so many mind-boggling things that people can do, you know, have created now, but construction is very important, right? Like, I feel like clothing, if you look at an old piece of clothing, it's constructed different than it is today. Different materials were used. So, you know, in my idea of her being able to stand on the shelves with real vintage dolls of that time, I needed to look at the construction, and I really, you know, focus was on her body. So I wanted that to be very beautiful, even if she was just standing there. I wanted her to be like less articulated, and I really wanted her just to have simple, clean lines, because that's what would have happened back then. You know, her rooting is different than, you know, you do rooting today, because the older machines don't do it as, you know, precise.
You're talking about her hair? I mean, what's the rooting?
The hair rooting and stuff. So those are all things that, you know, were conscious decisions, because I wanted her to feel a certain way, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
it totally
Yes.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's the thought behind, you know, creating something that you want to have. You know,
Yeah.
those are the things that you have to put forth in order to get what it is that you want, you know. And I think a lot of times people don't, and I think that's what I love about the show, is that people don't get an opportunity to talk with doll artists who make the dolls that they buy on the shelves, to understand the process and the thought behind why, you know, why they created that, you know, and the thought that went into that process. So
it's funny because when I was, you know, courting both factories, the one in China and the one in Spain, the one in China, you know, had sent me a sample as well. And it looked like Fabiola, but it didn't at the same time. She was almost too slick. Like I was like, that's kind of not the point I'm trying to make as an artist here, with like her, you know, being a little bit more like simply done, old school done. So
okay.
Yeah,
all right, that's interesting that you said that. Yeah, it's interesting that you said that. Like she looked like her, but it wasn't really her.
Yeah, it looks, and you know what? And my original idea was not to actually do all the face painting myself. But when I did finally get the stencils back from Spain, same kind of thing. She looked like her, but not really. So then I was like, okay, I think I'm just gonna need to do it, because because she's so much a part of me, that I think that the only way to get her face to look like her is if I do it. And even if I do it differently, it's still gonna look like her. But it still looks like her more than if somebody was to do it themselves.
I understand. Yeah. So when she comes to you, her face is just naked. I mean, there's no lipstick or anything.
Nothing.
There's just, okay. I didn't know if you had them do some little thing.
Yeah, no, so that's why it takes a little while for me to, you know, put them out there, because you know, it takes layers of paint and different sealants and some days in between and stuff. And I have a full-time job.
I was gonna say, and you're still working. So you still have a real job, right?
Thankfully, I'm not doing that 4-hour commute. You know, for a long time, I didn't have a time frame. I'm like, you know, I'm creating this doll, but, you know, I don't have a goal of when I'm putting her out, because around my commuting schedule and work schedule, I didn't have any idea of when that it would be possible to do this. So, you know, and it's funny because I received the boxes from Spain with all the doll parts in February, right before, you know, all the madness. So being home has really helped, you know, put a little fire under this project, and she was able to like come out now.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some good stories about, I mean, that's what happened with us too. COVID hit, and because we had been farting around, we're going to get to it. And then it hit, and it's like, you know, people are going to be home. What are they going to be doing? People are going to be lonely. Hey, we can share some great stories with them. And so then we released then, because I don't know exactly. I think we were trying to figure out like how many interviews we should have before we went live or something like that. It's just like, just go. Yeah.
People kept saying similar things like that to me too. Like I was like, no, I want to have at least 20, and people were just like, just do it. I'm like, but I want there to be enough for people to be excited about, you know. So, you know, all these things that but at the end of the day, you just gotta like at some point be like, okay, I'm doing it.
Yeah. You just got to jump out there and just, especially with all the time and stuff you've allotted to creating that. You know, now it's just like you just got to go. You know,
it's true. It's true. Well, you guys have created a really great thing, and we all appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, you think back about all, you know, when magazines were huge, like all the doll magazines, like there are none, you know, there's really none anymore.
But that's okay. There may be another one. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. But
that's true. But that's why we needed you, you know.
Well, thank you. You know, I had really thought about doing this a while ago, and just wanted to, I guess, because since I was in the doll business, I wanted to just be able to showcase, you know, the people who are in there, you know, to other people who are not in there. And that was really the goal, right? To have these people come on board, tell their stories. And so I can capture other people who are outside of that community and say, hey, in this community, they have amazing artists and amazing people. And, you know, I wanted them to see everything that you guys do. And that was really the gist of the show. And then when I met Tammy, I, you know, just knew she was a great co-host because she knew so many people. And you know, because I wasn't in the doll business anymore, but I knew of it. And I knew that there were people out there that are still doing amazing art. And creating amazing things. And I just wanted to be able to showcase that for people. That was really, like you said, you know, you had an idea for this doll, you just wanted to do it. And I just said, hey, I just want to do this and bring everybody together. And it's interesting because we've had a lot of people who listen to the show that are not in the doll community and really are surprised at how much they really enjoy the show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because
no,
they're
I think
thinking,
that's great.
oh, it's a doll thing. But no, it's a people thing. It's a entrepreneurship thing. You know, even
Right.
as a doll maker, you're still an entrepreneur because you got to
Yes.
market your doll, do PR for your doll. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Figure out cost. And so, yeah, so.
Well, there's also so many different facets of the industry too. So if you're not in the community, if you're not into dolls, you know, you think of dolls and you're like, I don't know, I'm not into dolls. But really, how could you not be into dolls? Because there's so many millions of different types of dolls out there.
Exactly.
You know? It's true. It's true.
Exactly.
You just don't know you're not. You just don't
not
know
into
you're
dolls,
into dolls.
right?
Yeah.
You're not into dolls.
You haven't seen the right one yet.
You haven't found the right one.
That's like me and my running joke. You know, I bought my last doll for the 50th time. Yeah. You know, because I see another one that's like, oh, I need that one.
Yeah,
I didn't know I needed it until I saw her.
It feels so good when you get the one you want, right?
Yeah,
definitely.
Now we're just waiting on Fabiola. I'm so excited.
Right.
Of course.
And I will tell you this honestly. Like once I do get one, you know, from her, once I'm able to get one, because I know they're sold out. But she would be honestly in my collection. I have a very limited collection. I have my dolls. I have a few.
She would look so good with your dolls.
She would.
Yes, I was going to say, yeah, she would.
She really would. And then I have Byron Lars. That was my other person that I love collecting. And so I don't have a huge collection. So, you know, she'll be,
I'm honored.
I'll be excited.
I'll be honored.
So I'm excited about that. So very cool.
Yeah,
you can tell us. So just let people know where they could reach out to you at and find you, so they can start to follow these amazing, this amazing doll that you've created.
Got it. Well, you can find Fabiola on her website, which is fabiolaofhollywood.com. Also, Fabiola of Hollywood on Instagram, and there's a Fabiola of Hollywood Facebook page. I'm in the process of creating a Fabiola group.
Oh, cool.
I haven't gotten to that yet because it was such a whirlwind that now I'm like, oh my God, I just need to start painting more faces and make more dolls. And so, but I will get to that shortly. But you can always go on my website and sign up for a newsletter so that you'll get an email when new dolls are being released and information about her.
Great. That's great. Very great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just been a great interview, and I'm just like I said, I'm excited about new dolls. I'm excited about dolls, but just the diversity. You know, we get our little Latin sister in here. It's like, yes. So thank you for creating her.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for being
doing what you guys do. I mean, you know, we wouldn't know about all these the diversity in the industry and all the different things that these artists are doing if it wasn't for people like you. So
thank you. We appreciate it. Yeah, we're honored.
Thank you for being on In the Doll World with us, Mike. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Be safe and be careful out there. Okay.
Yes.
You too.
Okay. Thank you.